Carolina Panthers are coming off a nice win over Jacksonville in Week 1, and in Week 2 they're going to be a home favorite over Houston. Right now the line is -3, the total is 40, and Houston, of course, still has the quarterback controversy going on. Brian Hoyer didn't play that well last week. Mallet came in and played better, and Houston lost at home to KC, although they did get burned by turnovers in that one. So their Week 2 matchup against Carolina, kind of a little bit tough to suss out possible betting value. We are going to talk with Joe Duffy from offshoreinsiders.com to see what he might recommend to us. I'm Peter Loshak, and you're watching SBR Videos. All right, Joe Duffy. Turnovers hurt Houston last week. We know that that is not very predictive of turnovers for the next week, so probably more likely than not to even out. The total's very low, right? The total right now is 40. I'm thinking that maybe as good as Houston's defense is, Cam Newton can always produce points, against anyone, at least to a certain degree. Houston is deep at receiver. Maybe we take a shot with the over at 40. I'm not sure what to make of this game, Joe. What's your analysis here?
Well, you brought up a very good point there, Peter, that we have definitely found with various systems that teams with bad turnover ratios, that's really where they can improve on that, and teams with great turnover ratios are often the overvalued team. Now, also when it comes to Week 2, especially, there's big-time overreaction, and there are plenty of angles out there that say the teams that played poorly in Week 1 are usually good plays in Week 2, and then teams that played very well in Week 1 are often go against in Week 2. A little bit surprised. I could not, when I entered the combo of a team returning home off of a road win and a road team coming off of a home loss, I would have thought that the road team would have been a great play then. It was actually about 50-50. But you really mentioned what is the key here. I think if Houston does announce, and it looks like they're going to wait until game time, so that's where everyone's going to be watching the warm-ups. But I do think that Hoyer would be more of the efficient quarterback, so he's more of an under quarterback. Ryan Mallet, of course, has that strong arm, but another one in the long list of guys who has a great arm who can't quite harness it, but I do think they'll throw downfield more with Mallet. So maybe the big play here will be to watch the pregame shows, listen to the pregame shows on the radio, and find out who the starting quarterback is. Houston's trying to keep it undercover, and if Mallet's a quarterback, maybe lean towards the over, and if Hoyer's a quarterback, lean a little bit towards the under. Another case where Texas does have to make a big adjustment. They allowed 5 sacks last week, and the Panthers had 5 sacks. So the pass rush will definitely, maybe Houston will be in maximum protect. So especially if Hoyer does play, maybe the under could be the strong play here, but I'm really waiting for more information before I make an official pick.
All right, yeah, my leans would be a Houston +3, as much as I, respect Cam Newton early in the year and what Carolina can do on defense, especially earlier in the year. And I'd lean towards the over 40. Are you going to give us an official pick, or is this going to be officially a pass for you, Joe?
Now, I'm going to say it'll be officially a pass. I'd like to get a little more intel. I do think Hoyer will probably be the starting quarterback. That's the early tea leaves, but there is some time between now and kickoff to maybe get some more accurate tea leaves. So I would say it'll officially be a pass.
And what would you say to people leaning towards the over, very low total, but are scared off because of Houston's strong defense? Is it sometimes a good thing to bet overs when you're betting an over in a game involving one or two very strong defenses?
It'll make me a little bit nervous because I wouldn't be surprised, like I said, if Houston goes into the max protect where they'll have more blockers than they will receivers because they had so much problem with sacks, and meanwhile Carolina had so much success with the sacks. So I think that could really affect Houston's schemes where they're a little more conservative. I mean, as a general rule of thumb, if I do have a bias, I do tend to like, lower totals over, but I don't know if this is quite the opportunity. But again, if it does look like Mallet is the quarterback, I would expect more aggressive play calling, and maybe the over would be a better play with Mallet.
Right, and it's interesting that two very sharp books have opposite leans on the total. Heritage has 39.5, and the Greek has 40.5. So Heritage leaning under, Greek leaning over, the rest of the market at 40, and it's going to be officially a pass for Joe Duffy. An interesting game. Joe Duffy, your website, offshoreinsiders.com. You take whatever I ask you to cover. A lot of these lines are very tough to find value with, but when you do find value, it goes at offshoreinsiders.com, right?
And it's somewhat of a surprise. Look, when the public has a great week, chances are we haven't had that great of a week, but both the public and the sharps had a good week last week. We're 29-16 overall college and pro preseason and regular season, and already I think about 5 or 6 winners, if I'm not mistaken, up on offshoreinsiders.com. More by the time most people see this, but already a nice portfolio up.
All right, sounds great. Thanks so much, Joe.